Before we get started, apologies, I could refer to it as Commander Masters 3 potentially, while I meant Commander Legends 3 or Commander Masters 2. Either one would have been a better option than saying Commander Masters 3, which is just plain wrong. Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about why I think Final Fantasy is Commander Masters 3. So this is the new set, over half revealed now. And so far we've seen some absolute banger cards. But to me at least, I think it's become increasingly clear that this set is pretty designed around Commander. Maybe you guys disagree or not. That's what I want, to make this video about, to show my point of view and stuff, and then I can hear from you guys down in the comments. I don't think that's a bad thing though, right? We've had some sets in the past that felt like they were designed more around Commander, like, OTJ felt more designed around Commander, and to be honest, I really liked it. I thought that it was decent. I thought it was really, a very fun set. This set, looks like it's going to be absolutely huge for Commander players. Like, if the boosters end up becoming just as available as other boosters, then it would probably be the box that I would suggest people buy if they were looking to literally buy a box to open for Magic cards to start Commander. Let's go through a number of different reasons why I think so, and then you guys can let me know if you agree with them, disagree with them, depending on what they are. So let's start off with the bonus sheet, which I think is the most explicit one. This is just so crazily Commander focused that, I think that it's the first thing that kind of made me start leading towards this. There is a whole bunch of partner creatures within it, which are just, huge Commander staples, like, using them as your commanders. There's a bunch of Commander staples overall in it. Some reprints that people have been begging for in Commander for a while. Obviously, these cards aren't just legal in Commander. These ones here are obviously going to be legal in whatever format they're already available in. So, whatever other format you guys are playing, that you can play these in. But they are, definitely really big within Commander. So looking at a few of them, we've got Ishai Ojutai Dragon Speaker up here. Partner. Huge, right? A Chrome as well, a big kind of finisher in so many different decks. We've got Kefka's Tower here as Bolus Citadel, like an absolute black staple. Ristic Study used all the time in Commander, like a huge Commander staple. And yeah, like, there's some big Commander staples seeing reprints here, which is definitely going to drag people in to want to buy the boosters just to try and get a chance at these Commander staples. Next up, we've got the Legendaries. So this is a quote: with over 100 Legendaries creatures in the set, we wanted to capture the look and feel of these Final Fantasy characters. There is so many Legendaries across the set that are definitely, some are aimed towards Commander, which we'll talk about in a couple different points later on. But overall, just so many different Legendaries. There's a huge amount of choice. If you open a booster pack, you are very likely to get a Legendary creature within that booster pack to kind of start looking at maybe building as a Commander and stuff. Which is great. As a Commander player, this is great. If you are a standard player, or if you hate Universes Beyond, maybe you're getting really salty and you're going to go, threaten to burn my house down or something down below. But to me, I don't mind that. I think that it's a very fun and interesting kind of thing. Just a huge amount of variety. Whatever kind of creature that you'd want to be able to play from Final Fantasy, you have the opportunity to potentially use it. So like, you're looking at some of them, they synergize well with the actual set as well. Like, Barrett and Cloud both synergizing well with like equipment and crypt creatures and everything. You've got like Kefka and Noctis, which are more kind of Commander focused, which we'll talk about a little bit later and stuff. But just other Legendaries that synergize well with it. Like Noctis will still work very well with a whole bunch of the stuff from like, Aether Drift and stuff, because they had a whole bunch of artifacts within there. There's a whole bunch of artifacts in this set. Kefka will work with all the discard stuff from the previous set from Aether Drift as well. There's a bunch of stuff that's going to work well with these creatures within the existing stuff, but they're just a huge amount of legendary creatures, right? Next up, we have the flavor/cameo mechanic. So I want to talk briefly about this because there is a huge amount of Legendaries, which we talked about just then, but a huge amount of them also just don't necessarily sync with the set or with the current standard meta. While, Belthier and Fran here can rely on the vehicles from the previous set from Aether Drift and stuff, the actual, like, there's not all that many vehicles from this set that have been revealed so far. And there's some absolutely random, like, flavor and cameo mechanics to the point that there was more than I would expect within a set, right? Like there's a huge amount of them that just aren't going to do much or anything synergize incredibly well with the whole set. They can synergize with the standard meta and stuff, but just not even necessarily a standard meta, just the cards that are legal within standard, but not a huge amount will go like well there or anything. So they're obviously insanely flavorful, and I do think the set is very well crafted, don't get me wrong, but they're looking just more and more designed to be used for Commander, most likely. Having a look, like Genova here, that's specifically giving stuff mutants and buffing up and turning creatures into mutants and everything. But the second part here reads more like you will want to use this as a mutant commander or in a mutant-based deck, right? Edgar here does stuff to do with coin flips. I don't think we've seen a single coin flip card within the set so far. No, we haven't, besides him. And I don't think that there is any standard legal currently either that are, there might be a couple that are coin flips, but not enough that you would think that they would, print this, as well as the fact that he's 6 mana, so he's also just quite slow. You've got Torgal, a fine hound here. There is not all that many dogs and wolves within this set at all. This is pretty clearly it's going to get 1+1, but in a, it's set around werewolves or something like that, it's going to be huge. Sid, Timeless Artificer. A very, very commander coded card in my opinion. Works incredibly well with heroes, artifact creatures and stuff. He's going to be a great commander deck and build around kind of thing. But that's kind of my next point here, is just the kind of build around stuff. So if you guys are liking this content so far though, make sure you do subscribe, share the video around, all that kind of stuff. As all the Final Fantasy stuff's been coming out, we've been covering it here. We've been absolutely freaking smashing it. I am so surprised at how well we're going. Thank you so much. It is incredible. I love it. Yeah, as I said, the build around, the commanders. So these ones here are ones that you clearly look at and you're like, oh, that's absolutely stunning. I want to build that as my commander. And it's not because, they have something that synergizes well with stuff that's within the set or something. It's that they don't necessarily synergize well with the set, and they clearly look like they need to be built around kind of thing. So as I said about, what's her face before, Genova, very clearly a great kind of card to build around as an actual deck, right? But there's a few other ones in here like Zodiac, Umbral God here. So it is a semi kind of board wipe. You bring it in, people sacrifice half their god creatures, non-god creatures. But as a commander or as a commander focused card, it is incredible. Let's not kid ourselves, they are clearly thinking about commander when they were designing these. Like Choco, right? There is going to be birds within the set. There's still birds that are standard legal with the stuff from Bloomburrow and stuff. Don't get me wrong. But looking at it, this is a very commander coded card. Ultima, Origin Oblivion, very, very commander coded card. There's not, I don't think there's anything that's really going to make use of this Eldrazi kind of blight counters, making stuff tap for double colorless mana. You can potentially use it, and you can use it as a land hate for your opponents, but as a actual commander or a card in an Eldrazi deck, it will absolutely pop off. You've got Zidane, Tantalus Thief here. This is obviously a theft card. You're stealing cards, and then you're giving people back their creatures, and then when you do, you create treasures. Yeah, it's clearly a card that can easily be built around, an amazing, amazing deck that you could potentially build around with it. But as a card here, it doesn't fit as well. And same as I said before about Sid. The Crystal Cycle, just to point out the obvious one, we talked about this in the previous video. These are just very, very commander coded. I think that they're pretty slow, and I don't think they're going to be amazing in standard, but in commander, oh boy, these are absolutely going to pop off. They're going to be huge staples in my opinion. Some of these are just absolutely amazing. The Water Crystal alone as a mill-based card. Every time I've seen people mention about this, they've only ever talked about commander for it. Now, maybe that's just because, the groups that, or everyone's kind of focused more on commander, but it's absolutely a banger, right? In a commander deck that is based around milling people one at a time, this is now milling them 5 at a time. You've also got the Earth Crystal here. Again, I just think that this is incredible. I think that it is very much a commander focused card. It's just great. As for next one, the Speed. So I'm looking through these cards, and I just think that a lot of them, or maybe not a lot, a fair chunk of them are just quite slow for a 1v1/20 health format, right? I just don't think that they're going to really go incredibly well there. Maybe that's just not me not knowing standard well enough. From what I know about standard currently, it is focused around people getting turn 2, turn 3 wins with red and stuff like that. That's as much as I know. I really need to start focusing and having a look more at standard. But from what I know, I mean, even from just experiencing it with draft and everything, the actual 20 health is just not a lot. You're going to easily kind of get burnt through that. So you need cards that aren't going to be quite as slow. And looking at some of the cards that are here, they are going to be quite slow. In Commander, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll work well, etc., etc. But for like a standard 1v1, 20 health scenario, I just think some of them are quite slow. Looking at like Aetor and Pre-Run here, cost 6, 5 to equip it. That is, yeah, pretty slow in my opinion. Kefka Court Mage, it costs you 8 to flip him. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Ice Magic, you know, these ones here, they're good to start off with, but these ones down here, I doubt people are going to get to. Emmet Selch, people need 14 or more cards in your graveyard. That's going to be like, what, self-mill? I think there is a self-mill, I want to say like Esper Pixies or something like that. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember that there was one thing from WoW that like made people mill and then they get to return a card to their hand. I think that that was like going to work well here, but most likely, you know, it's not going to work incredibly well unless you're really ditching cards with it. So the art. Now, again, this could be just me, but these arts just scream, this is my commander. This is my focus of my deck. Look at this incredible character art. Having the character front and center, easily standing out from their background, just reminds me so much of those cards from Modern Horizons 3 sets that are either like very similar to these or like the side-on portrait ones that were very much like, you know, great for using as your commander and, you know, having those as your legendaries and everything. So having a look, these are the ones I'm kind of talking about here. I need this Una. So I only just started playing Final Fantasy X. That's the first Final Fantasy game I played. I started playing 7, and then I looked at more at 10, and I'm like, actually, looking at 10, I think that's more up my alley, so I switched over to it. I'll go back to 7. Sorry if that's, you know, blasphemy. But I didn't realize that Una had heterochromia. I absolutely love heterochromia. It's just amazing. I love it. It looks so cool. And this art is just amazing. And this is just like, it's just front, center, can put it here, can be my commander. Yeah, I love it. Squall as well, right? Like, even like not looking at the ones that are like the background with the number and stuff like that. Like there's lightning here, the Sephiroth that's there. They just scream, this is my commander. Look at them front and center, showing off this amazing art of them. Not saying that other cards don't have great art that are like, you know, legendaries and stuff, but having them kind of, you know, there where they're kind of like molded around and they're like, you know, their nameplate might even be behind their art and stuff, so the art kind of just pops out more. That's what I'm getting at. It pops out more as a commander. So yeah, maybe I'm crazy with that one. And the final one here is these lands. The new adventure lands are some of the best MDFCs, potentially, in my opinion, that we've got. So similar to MDFCs, you can cast them as like, you know, an instant or sorcery, right? And typically that you'd cast them as an instant or sorcery, and then that would go to your graveyard. You could potentially have ways to bring that back, but not usually. But these ones, you cast them as an instant sorcery, they get exiled. You can then use that as your land drop. Now, maybe that's, you know, fine in standard and stuff like that. Sure, like, you know, they're going to still find use within standard, definitely. I think that they're still really good. But in Commander, I think that these are absolutely going to be great. Like, so many are just really great. They just, you know, you only have like, what, 37, 38 lands or something. Like, I typically aim for 37 lands in my deck. This means that I can put these in. They take up a land slot. And they don't take up an instant or sorcery spot. That's how I view it, at least. So I think that these are really great. I do think that they are potentially more aimed towards Commander, but maybe that's just me. Who knows? So, you know, a couple of the other ones, you've got like Jador here, which is a huge mill spell. The other thing is looking at like the cost of them. Like this costs 6, right? To mill someone for half their library. Maybe in standard, that's fine. Or, you know, there's other formats, but this is obviously meant to be a standard level set. That's why I'm talking about standard. But in Commander, 6 mana is pretty easy to get to. Milling someone for half their deck is pretty crazy. And then you've got Ishgard over here. Return up to 2 target artifacts or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand for the cost of 5. 5's rather expensive, but in Commander, that's not too bad. I don't think that's awful. Especially because, you know, this part here is a little bit overcosted, but you've also got the fact that you get that land there too, which is good. Like, it's typical kind of MDFC stuff. I don't know, maybe these are fine, but to me, looking at them, I think that Command is kind of this point of view that they're going to work incredibly well in. So again, let me know what you guys think. Again, I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think that it's fine. I like it a lot. You know, it means the set's not completely pushed like we've had previously, like, you know, Modern Horizons 3, where it absolutely pushed the power level. And then from there, because that's pushing the power level, then all of the like decks had to adjust around it. This is not going to push the power level quite as much as, like, you know, a Commander Masters might, but it still looks like it's very much themed around Commander and very much kind of aimed towards Commander. It's going to be great for Commander players, in my opinion. You know, OTJ was, again, I think, a really great set for Commander. Not a great set overall, and the lore was absolutely shit. And, you know, I know that people really trashed on it because it had so many legendaries, but personally, like, you know, I think that it had some really banger legendaries, and as a new player, it was definitely a decent set to kind of start off with if you just wanted to buy a box, because you could get some nice stuff from it. At the time, you know, Baldur's Gate was a better option, but even then, looking at Baldur's Gate, you know, had so many legendaries, and it had great stuff in it. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe am I getting too old? Have I been out in the sun for too long? Who knows? I hope you guys had a great day, and goodbye.